Hey, welcome back everybody. Today's video is going to be about what, in some sense, may be the biggest question mark for the Alabama defense in the 2017 season, which is the Alabama defensive line. Now, some of you may say, what? That's blasphemy. Alabama doesn't have bad defensive lines. And to your point, I am not arguing that. I'm just saying that this is a really interesting situation based on an experience and playing time standpoint, and I'm going to go into why as the video unfolds. But first of all, let's talk about the players that have left or departed the Alabama program since the end of last season. And of course, we're going to talk about those who graduated in the first round draft pick. Jonathan Allen is amazing with his hands and technique from that defensive end standpoint at Alabama. Taking number 17 overall, and many expect him to make an immediate impact with the team that he's with. So, of course, when you lose a first-round draft pick, there's always a drop-off. It may not necessarily be a ton, but when you lose guys first-round draft pick, you lose something. No matter how much you reload, no matter how talented the guys behind him are, I do believe that you always lose something. That's the reason why he was the starter to begin with. So you lost him, but also little appreciated Dalvin Tomlinson, who was the other defensive end in the Alabama starting lineup last year, who used to wrestle in high school. He's an interesting guy. He's very smart. He has a lot of interests that you could read up on. And you're like, oh, wouldn't suspect a defensive lineman to be into these things. But Dalvin Tomlinson was a man on the other side of that defensive end. You could not move him. He was always holding up well. He was basically wrestling guys down over there, whipping them here and there. And he was very underappreciated because his name wasn't called a lot. You started to hear people start referencing it later on toward the end of the year, but this guy's been putting in work for the past 2 or 3 years at Alabama, so he's going to be missed, especially because his spot is the spot that most people were looking to see who would fill it. So his role that he played was very important. Also, we lost O.J. Smith, who transferred to Minnesota in the offseason, so he lose a number there. And we lost Dakota Ball, who graduated. He was number 44. He was with Alabama for a while, and he would always come in reserve role, providing a good break for the other guy. So his contribution to the team was very, very much underrated and underappreciated as well, because he wasn't like the big talented guy who's coming in to relieve the starters. He was like, I'm here to basically be another cog, another piece to play and do my job well enough, play a solid game while the other guys are resting. And you always need that on a football team. So Dakota Ball's out. So that's 4 guys. But we still have players, which is obvious at Alabama. I'm going to talk about who's returning right now. At defensive end returning, you got Dashawn, Raekwon Davis, Quinnen Williams, and Jamar King. Dashawn was a 5-star recruit, I think number 1 in the nation in the 2014 cycle. A lot of people were expecting big things for him, thought he was going to come in and just take over. But similar to Jonathan Allen, actually, he was behind a very, very, very talented defensive line for 3 years. And he got playing time here and there, but now he's finally getting his chance to make a big impact. Raekwon Davis, he was a freshman last year. Huge guy. Came in 6'6", 6'7", 327 pounds. Athletic freak, running through offensive linemen in high school. They expected big things out of him. He got himself down to 315, but he just looks like a monster out there. And he's been impressing spring, fall, summer. And so now he's finally in, and he, as I said in the previous video, is actually leading to take over for that Dalvin Tomlinson spot on the defensive line. Also, Quinnen Williams, who's a freshman last year, came in along with Raekwon Davis. He's also another huge guy, 6'4", 315, I believe. He redshirted, but he's been pushing as well, looking to get some playing time this year, and he for sure will be playing, and I'll tell you why later on in the video. And then Jamar King, who came in last year. We actually recruited a lot of guys. A JUCO guy Wasn't highly recruited, but they respected his talent and whatnot because a lot of people started to recruit him toward the end. Um, so he was a junior last year, but he's a senior this year, but only his second year at Alabama. He's also another big, long, lanky, tall, strong guy. So those are the defensive ends who are returning. Now the defensive tackles who are returning are DaRon Payne, who will be a household name by the end of this season, Josh Frazier, who was the backup nose tackle to Payne last year, and Johnny Dwight, who has turned it on this offseason and has impressed the coaches quite a bit. So DaRon Payne was the starting nose tackle last year. Guy, he's huge. He was closer to 330 at one point, but then he dropped himself down. He's down 310, trying to get to 308. He's 6'2". Um, Immensely powerful guy. He bench presses uh, 545 pounds as of the spring. I don't know if he's increased it since then. The coaches won't let him go too much higher. They're trying to keep him safe, and he wants to go higher. I mean, he squats 635. And like I said, this is as of the spring. He could be doing more if the coaches let him. So he squats 635 pounds, bench presses 545 pounds. This guy is strong, and he runs a 5-second 40, like almost a 5-second flat. So his first year or the year before, he ran a 4.93. And then this spring, he ran a 5.03. So 4.93, 5.03. He's consistently like at that 5-second mark. So that's pretty fast for a defensive lineman, especially one with his strength. Is actually very impressive. So DaRon Payne, he's unmovable. He's disruptive. This guy's talented. So it's funny. I'm interested to see because of how talented DaRon Payne is and how strong he is. And Florida State has a guy who's really good, Derek Nottie, over there. Uh, I'm interested to see uh, who makes a bigger impact for their respective defensive lines in this first game. I'm just interested to see it. So it'll be cool to watch both of these guys and detail how they go about attacking offensive linemen, seeing some differences or seeing how they're similar. I'm excited about watching the defensive line. Josh Frazier, who played quite a bit last year, backed up Payne. Of course, he's not as strong as him, but he got the job done. He did what he was supposed to do. He knew how to play the line. That's all you can ask. And Johnny Dwight, as I said before, he won the what was it? The Billy Neighbors Defensive Line Award for the spring. They gave him the Defensive Line Award because he impressed them so much in the spring game, and just from the spring him coming back, they told him to drop some weight, so he dropped about 10 pounds, and he told him to get stronger, and he did. And his performance in the spring game, he made what am I trying to say? He took the coach's word and he applied it, and now they're rewarding him for it. And he's pushing Frazier for those backup reps to Payne. So some talented players and some good depth at the defensive tackle. So those are the guys returning. Had what is that? 7? I think that's 7 guys. Yeah, returning. But we also had freshmen coming in. And those freshmen who are now here, well, not just freshmen, we actually have a JUCO transfer too. Isaiah Buggs was defensive end. He was pushing Raekwon Davis, and I'm talking about that a little bit too. He was pushing Raekwon Davis for that other starting defensive end spot, and he's going to most likely play. He's impressed Nick Saban from the first time he got on campus. So Isaiah Buggs, who's another huge guy, I think about 6'6" as well. I had to go look at it. I don't remember his exact size at the moment. Then you have LeBrian Ray, true freshman, who they already said that he looks like he is physically ready to play college football already. Before he hit the weight room, he was physically ready to play college football. Impressive. And actually, he's been impressing the coaches in the drills. So expect to see him get some reps in to see the coaching staff push for him to get on the field. Try to develop him a lot quicker. And of course, Phidarian Mathis, who's also a true freshman defensive tackle, he'll be backing up and providing some more depth for that tackle spot. So about 10 guys, maybe 11, depending on the status of Jarius Parks. I'm not sure where he's coming along, competing for the starting 3 and the backup, the rotational spot. So about 11 guys, 10, 11 guys competing for 6 spots, which is good, meaning that you got some extra bodies. Now, to the point that I was making at the beginning of the video, which was 9 minutes and 45 seconds ago. Wow. The reason why this may be a question mark, after I just detailed all this talent and now numbers game that we have depth-wise is because a lot of these guys have not played, um, at least not as much. Dashawn and DaRon Payne, they have played the most out of all the returning defensive linemen for Alabama. They've played the most, and we expect them to do well. The issue is Raekwon Davis, Quentin Williams, Jamar King, and Johnny Dwight. They haven't played a lot at all. Uh, Raekwon Davis and Jamar King, they played quite a bit toward the end of. They played toward the end of games last year, like in the fourth quarter when games got out of hand, or when we rotating guys toward the end and we need to get the starters out to rest and get some guys some experience. They came in a bit there and got some reps, but not a ton during the times where it mattered a lot. Like during the first quarter, like Ole Miss game or LSU. Didn't see a lot of them out there. And not to say that doesn't mean that they can't do well or that they haven't. It's just that we haven't seen them a lot. And so I'm pretty sure they're trying to accelerate the growth process for these guys before the season starts because they got to get ready for live action football, Florida State, to start the season. Especially Quentin Williams, who redshirted. So this will be his first game experience at all for this upcoming game, for this Florida State game. His first game experience, which is a big time game to first start out, which is really cool, despite these guys coming to Alabama, of course. Josh Frazier, of course, has played a lot. He's backed up DaRon Payne, so he's had to come on the field. And even before that, he played in 15 too. So he has experience as a backup. So there's technically three guys who have played a lot, but that's two tackles in one end when we only have one tackle on the field at a time. So and then the standpoint of Bugs being new to the system, just coming in, LaBryan Ray being a true freshman, he has to learn. And Fadarian Mathis being a true freshman, he has to learn. When you add all that up, that's two tackles and one defensive end who has at least some quality experience and reps playing. And then you have two guys who have some reps and a little bit more experience, and the other guys are little to no experience at all playing defensive line. Playing defensive line. Playing for Alabama right now. They play defensive line, but you know what I'm trying to say. They haven't played in games at Alabama as much. So, from the standpoint of knowing what they can do, that's where it's a question mark. Or knowing how they will perform, that's where it's a question mark. Like I said, this is not an issue of their size or their talent, how fast they run, how strong they are. It's just about knowing what they can do. And this is a question that you have to ask for every team. And this is just something that I asked for the defensive line because they are fresh. And it's not that Alabama hasn't seen before. Nick Saban has gone through this process of many different position groups, but it's just stating a fact here. With that said, the question is, can these guys be difference makers for Alabama? Can this defensive line be as good as the 15 and 16 line? That remains to be seen. We'll just have to wait to find out. You can try to predict it. But for me, based on what I know, it's almost impossible to predict that they will or won't based on what we know about them so far. Where am I going to go next? Oh, with that said, because there's a lack of experience behind the three guys that we know, Alabama will want to hope for no injuries, which is the case anyway. You never want to get injured, even if you got a lot of guys. But you don't want to get injured at the defensive line spot because of the lack of experience behind the guys that we got on top, which is really interesting. Which is similar to the cornerback situation, but not as much. Just a little bit of parallel there, but not too much. All these guys are athletic, well-built, strong, tall, except for DaRon Payne. He's like 6'2", but that's still tall relatively, especially at nose tackle. It's just about the experience. So will they be as good as the previous 2 years? I don't know, but they have the potential to be so. And we'll see if they can come out firing on all cylinders against Florida State. Because the thing is, you just don't replace the technical skill of Jonathan Allen and just the physical prowess and ability of Dalvin Tomlinson so easily. Like, Alabama recruits well, and we got guys, of course. But to automatically replace their production, that's not something that comes about easily. And Nick Saban knows that, which is why he's always pushing for guys to do their best every day. But here's a good thing, though. A lot of these guys have the ability, based on their body type. I don't necessarily know how much they're cross training them here. Based on their body types and the type of builds and the athletic skills that they have, it seemed like they will be able to play both inside and out. So we can be able to kind of mix and match, get some guys here and there, and maybe switch around and see who gives the best combination. But so far, it seems like it's based on the depth chart that I'm seeing from practice. Is Raekwon Davis at that left defensive end spot, which is the weaker side, the weak side. DaRon Payne at the nose tackle, of course, that was never in question, and Dashawn at the strong side defensive end. So that tends to be the starting defensive line, and I have a lot of hope and optimism for this defensive line. These guys are all monsters, so I like it. Especially Hand, he's really strong too. I think if you can combine just the pure strength of Payne and Hand, they probably can move the entire offensive line by themselves. These guys are both really, really strong. Like Hand came out of high school known for being really strong, and so did Payne. And Raekwon Davis is just like athletically superior. So this is really cool. They have a lot of potential. Isaiah Bugg seems to be fighting with Raekwon Davis for that left side defensive end spot. And Quentin Williams seems to be behind Hand over there on that right side defensive end spot. And of course, Frazier and Dwight are kind of battling for the backup nose tackle. And then after those guys, you have LeBron Ray, who they're trying to get up there and get some development going. So a true freshman who will probably play some this year. Darian Mathis, who I doubt will play this year, but he may have to depending on the depth situation. And Jamar King, who has the potential to establish, I guess, some more reps and playing time for himself. As a senior here, this is his last chance. So he has the potential to do so. He has to show that maybe he can outperform Williams or Buggs and get some more time on the field. We'll find out. But either way, that is my preview for the Alabama defensive line for the 2017 season. Fellow Bama fans, what do you think? Are you more cautious or optimistic about the defensive line this year? I mean, of course, look, here's the thing. I don't think the defensive line is going to be bad. It's about whether they'll be as good relative to the 2015 and 2016 season. So that's the question, actually. Fellow Alabama fans, do you think the defensive line will be as good as last year or the year before that? Do you think maybe they'll be about equal? Do you think they'll be worse? And here's another question. Do you think maybe they'll be better at some things than others? Do you think maybe they'll be good at pass rushing but not as good as run stuffing? Do you think they'll be better at run stuffing but not as good as pass rushing? That's an interesting question. One of the reasons why I say that's interesting is because we do have a lot of strong, big guys on the defensive line, which would probably make you land to think, they would be really good at stopping and stuffing the run. But like I said, we haven't had the opportunity to see these guys really pass rush. So that's the question mark. So what do you think? That is the real question. Alabama has talented guys. Florida State's defensive line, they have the advantage in terms of having guys who have played. A lot of guys who have played and gotten quite a bit of experience with Burns and Sweat and Noddy and Christmas. They just have a lot of talent over there on that defensive line and guys who have played a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two defensive lines play in the game. But that is the video for the preview for the defensive line for the 2017 season. Leave comments below. I would love to interact with you all and be on the lookout for the next video. I think I'll probably do another position group for Alabama, maybe the wide receivers, which is going to be a fun video. Thanks for paying attention. I'll see you on the next one.